Fierce ladies, welcome to the Moms in Real Estate podcast, where we unleash our unapologetic power to share the raw truth of our journeys. Brace yourself for a dose of empowerment, education, and encouragement like never before. I'm Kristen, a relentless entrepreneur obsessed with connecting and uplifting fellow boss babes. In this podcast, we're all about getting down to business, conquering motherhood, nurturing relationships, and so much more. Get ready to dive into the nitty-gritty, embrace the hustle, and unravel the secrets of success in the world of real estate. We're here to ignite your fire, equip you with the knowledge, and unleash your limitless potential. Tune in as we redefine what it means to be a true boss babe. Today on Moms in Real Estate, I get to interview my good friend Barb, the founder of Your Tax Coach. We're going to dive into the journey of how she built such a successful business in such a short amount of time. And we're also going to go into why putting yourself in the right rooms is such a smart move and how it can transform your business. Let's get started. Hey, Barb.
Hey, how's it going?
It's going good now that you're here. I'm really excited. If you guys don't know Barb, which I feel like everyone in the Moms in Real Estate community has been very familiar with you because you are one of our partners as a tax strategist. And why don't you just tell everybody a little bit about yourself and then let's dive into how you got started.
Yeah, I'm the founder of Your Tax Coach, and we help small business owners and a lot of real estate agents save money in taxes. And from there, it kind of expanded into live events and retreats and coaching and
Courses?
a lot of courses because we're all about just education and helping people learn more.
Yeah, it's funny because you just connected me with a real estate agent in LA and we were talking about you yesterday and
Oh,
she's like the flyest accountant I've ever met. And I was like, that is so true. Because you had gold boots on when she met you.
yes.
Yeah,
Everyone was talking about these gold boots.
I want to see them.
They were like $40 on Amazon.
Really?
Yeah. And now everyone that's going to an event, they have to get these boots
Oh.
because they'll start conversations with everyone.
Yeah, they worked for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think that a lot of times people will look at you and they'll be like, "Oh my gosh, she's so successful," and not realize probably the journey it took to get there. And so why don't we start with, just where this all began?
Yeah. Do you want me to go way back? Where do I begin with
I know.
this?
I think we start with even just you working for an accountant and kind of how you saw how things could be different.
Yeah. I was in public accounting for 10 years prior to starting my own business. And it's funny, I was just interviewing someone to work on our team and we're talking. She works at another accounting firm and all the things she was complaining about was exactly why I started my firm, where it's you had to bill your time, which I hate that. Every 6 minutes, we would have to put our time in a computer on chatted with this client about that. And they would be billed for every 6 minutes, just like an attorney.
Yeah.
But then it creates this weird dynamic of then the client doesn't want to ask you questions because they're like,
Yeah.
oh, I'm just going to be charged for my
Mhm.
silly question. And so I didn't like that. I wanted there to be open communication, as much communication as possible. And I was just really tired of being the bad messenger of, oh, here's your tax bill. And then they'd be
Mhm.
like, well, what can I do about it? And
Mhm.
just a regular accountant's going to be like, well, I don't know. This is just, you made money, so you have to pay taxes.
Yeah.
And I'm like, there has to be a better way. So then I just started creating and learning about tax strategy and tax plans. And so then 5 years ago, I started my own firm.
It is insane, you guys. If you go look up your tax coach to say 5 years ago you started your own firm. That is really, really impressive. Do you feel like it was a really scary thing for you to leave that stable income? Because at the time you were a single mom, right?
Yeah, I wasn't a single mom when I started the company, but I was working for another firm. And really started the company to pay off the last $22,000 of my student loans. I had started with 6 figures of student loans and was just really diligent over the prior 8 years to pay it off slowly. And I paid more on my student loans than what my mortgage was every single month
Jeez.
for 8 years. And I was just so tired of it. And I'm like, maybe if I have this side hustle, I can pay off the last $22,000. And we did that in our first month, which
That
was
is
crazy.
so cool. I love how it was like a side hustle in the beginning. I don't think I knew that.
Yeah. Yeah. I actually stayed on with my old firm for 6 months after starting Your Tax Coach. And I didn't quit until I had 10x what my salary was. I don't know why. I just
Uh,
like couldn't quit it.
was that like in your head to 10x it is when you were going to leave, or that's
No,
just happened to be when you left?
it just happened to be like I was finally making my income and expense spreadsheet,
Mm-hmm.
as all of us business owners do. We do that way too late. So I was finally doing it for myself and I'm like, what am I doing?
Yeah.
I'm like, it's stable enough now. Cause that was my whole thing. I was like, I've been the single mom. I've been 6 figures in debt.
Yeah.
Like I didn't want any of that. So I didn't want to quit this stable W-2 job, like quote unquote living the dream. Like I was living in North Carolina, getting paid a California salary. And so it took a long time to cut that cord, but it's crazy when you cut the cord and you basically like tell the universe, okay, I'm ready for
Yeah.
this. And it was just like whoosh.
Yeah. Do you feel like you grew so fast in the beginning, like that you were like shaken up, or was that like you could totally handle that?
I can handle it. Yeah, I feel like I can handle anything. So
Yeah.
it's like everyone's always like, "How do you do it all?" And I'm like, "I don't know, I just do it."
You just do it.
Yeah.
You,
But really what grew it, and I didn't even know what a retreat was. Like
yeah.
I'd never heard of that word before
Yeah.
other than like seeing it in the movies and someone goes on like some weird hippy dippy like yoga retreat.
Yeah. Or like a couples retreat or something.
Yes. And someone I had followed, I had listened to their podcasts forever, and they were a client of mine at my old firm.
Mm-hmm.
She was like, "Hey, we're hosting this retreat in Austin. Do you want to come?" And I was like, "I don't know. This sounds weird. Like a bunch of women paying to be friends together. And like, what are we going to do in these 2 days? It's going to
Mm-hmm.
be like weird, like a weird cult
Yeah.
or something." And I went and it was so crazy. Like every single one of those women became a client without even knowing like
Yeah.
really what it was supposed to be.
Did you go there to educate?
No, I was just,
You just
I
attended.
had no idea what the dang thing was. I just was attending.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Oh, this is so cool." They curated like a little coffee outing and then we like
Mm-hmm.
learned about how to be healthier and it was like a wellness podcast and
Yeah.
then my client had a wellness company and just seeing the like connections and friends made there, I was like, there's something to this like retreat thing.
And then so you continuously have done that. Like obviously we've retreated together so many times. So kind of tell me more about like as you started learning about retreats, was it something that you're like, I'm going to make sure I'm doing these like every year, twice a year? Kind of what was your thought when that happened?
I think it was more of like I had so much fun.
Mm-hmm.
I made so many connections, and it was all women that were business owners, and I didn't know a single person in my life
Yeah.
that owned a business, like literally, besides my dad being a drug dealer, if that counts, which
Yeah.
you still have to claim your taxes on that.
Kind of. Yeah.
So just not having anyone in my circle or network
Mm-hmm.
that was a business owner, it was so important to me to like be in those rooms to really see like what other people are doing. Like I had never heard of like getting on someone's newsletter list or
Yeah.
like what is a funnel.
Yeah.
Um,
Which is crazy because I feel like you're so good at all that stuff. Like when you say you can do anything, you really learn all of that. Since I've known you, I feel like you've had all that down.
I just I'm always learning something like at all times.
Yeah. So did you create I know she has a course you guys called Write Off Your Life that is fantastic. And it's something that I've seen you promote over the years. So it's an evergreen product for you. What gave you that idea if you'd never been in this world before at that point?
I know it's crazy.
Yeah.
And I hated everyone else's courses.
Yeah.
I have this weird toxic trait of like buying people's courses just to be habitually disappointed. But I keep doing it because I'm like, someone has to have a good one. And
Yeah.
I want to see how other people's like funnels work and stuff. So it's more for like, because I'm nosy. But really I created it because we were really great at getting strategy clients. We had a ton of strategy clients where we would save them tens of thousands of dollars in taxes. But what I couldn't do for those strategy clients is be there with them, like at the checkout counter of Target to
Mm-hmm.
know, am I using my business card or my personal card?
Mm-hmm.
And so the course is really for them, the strategy clients, to know what's personal, what's business, how can I make more personal stuff business?
Mhm.
And then what I didn't think it was for at the time, but now really is for like the new business owner
Mm.
that can't afford maybe a tax strategist at this point or doesn't need one because they don't have a huge tax bill.
Yeah.
But they still need to know all these like foundational things about income and expenses and how to categorize stuff and how to make more personal things business. And so now it's really for our beginner business owner clients. And then as they grow, then they can become like a done for you client.
Hi, it's Barbara from Your Tax Coach, and we help business owners and real estate investors save money on taxes. And if you know anything about real estate, you've probably heard that cost segregations can save you a lot of money on your taxes. A big misconception is that cost segs are only for the wealthy or only for super expensive properties, but let me break it down for you. We had a client that purchased an $80,000 condo. Now, I want to know where she got that because I don't know of any $80,000 condos, but when we did that cost segregation study for her, she got an additional $30,000 deduction on her tax return. Imagine if you had a $500,000 property, how much that could do for you. You'd probably get $150,000 in extra deductions on your tax returns, saving you $50,000 to $75,000 in taxes. These are the real estate tax strategies that you need to know as an agent and that you need to know if you want to be a real estate investor yourself. So for more tax tips and tricks, follow me at Your Tax Coach on Instagram. And we have a course that has hundreds of real estate tax strategies that I've accumulated over my 15-year career of doing taxes. So go to writeoffyourrealestate.com. Again, it's writeoffyourrealestate.com.
Yeah, I love that. And I think actually probably a lot of our audience doesn't even know the difference between an accountant and a tax strategist, because I've been in a lot of conversations over the years and realizing like I didn't know the difference at all until I met you. And I feel like a lot of people just have an accountant and they don't know that there's even the option of a tax strategist. So what's the difference?
Yeah, if you think about like driving in a car, your bookkeeper and your tax preparer or accountant is in the back seat of the car.
Okay.
So, and then your tax strategist and like your CFO is in the front seat. They're the ones really driving the car, like where is it going? So like tax strategists are forward looking. We work with you all year round to make sure you don't have a tax bill next year. Your bookkeeper and your tax preparer are just doing what's already been done. They're in the back seat, like looking backwards.
And you guys offer all three services?
Yeah. So our tax strategy clients, we require them to do tax prep with us because there's not another way to know for us, like if the strategies were done right on their tax returns.
Yeah.
So we prepare the returns. And then some people love their bookkeepers and they keep their bookkeepers, and that's totally okay. But if you're not like ecstatic about your bookkeeper, like our bookkeeping team is amazing.
Yeah, and that's something that's like a newer department for you guys, right? Over the last couple years.
We've always had it. We just maybe don't promote it as much because it's not as sexy on social media to be like, hey, get your books done. But it's kind of sexy to be like, hey, did you know you can save $5,000 in taxes by doing X?
Yeah, that is. And I think that if you guys go follow Your Tax Coach on Instagram, you're going to see that they definitely have an amazing social media where you're getting constant strategy knowledge. How did you get into social media like you did in the beginning, if that's not your background?
So at the old firm I was working at, I would get a 10% commission on any clients I brought in. And no one was taking advantage of that.
Yeah.
And for me, I was like, I got bills to pay, I got mouths to feed, and I have student loans that need to be paid off. And so to me, I was like, okay, 10%. If I get a $10,000 client, I'll get $1,000. Okay, it's worth it to me to like go to like BNI meetings and like Chamber of Commerce, like the more boring meetings. That's what I did at the beginning. And when I was doing that, I would just post on my personal Instagram page at the time and just be like, hey, I'm going to this meeting or I'm seeing this client, saving them this amount. And so prior to your tax coach, I already was showing people
It's
a little bit
awesome.
and like noticed that people were nosy.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just kind of like capitalized on people's nosiness where I
Yeah.
was like, okay, if I'm going to start my own firm, I'm just going to show them all the behind the scenes.
Mm-hmm.
And even I remember my friends being like, no one wants to learn about a tax firm or an accounting firm or whatever. And I'm like, I don't know. People are just nosy and want to know stuff about
Yeah.
people. So that's what I did from the beginning, was just like a ton of behind the scenes, especially when it was just me at the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
For like 15 months, I had no employees. So it was just like, okay, I'm on this sales call today. I'm doing this tax return. I'm doing this tax plan. I have this podcast. And people just resonated with it, I guess.
Yeah, they really did. And it took off because is that where most of your initial clients came from, was social media?
What's crazy is that very first retreat.
Okay.
So let's say there was like 12 women there. I don't remember, but let's say there was like 12 women. I probably got 10 of them as clients. And at that
That's
time,
crazy.
yeah, crazy. And at that time, they were all really high up in an MLM
Mm-hmm.
that has since shut down, but they were all really high up in this MLM. And so, of course, they tell all their MLM like
Yep.
downline.
Mm-hmm.
And so then they all became clients. And then
Mm-hmm.
they told all their MLM friends from a different MLM, you know?
Yeah,
And so it kind of grew word of mouth that way,
that's great.
but also still on social as I'm like sharing my
Yeah.
experience and behind the scenes and stuff.
Yeah. So do you feel like to this day, let's go back to getting in the right rooms. Do you feel like a really great way for you to show up is to show up and speak on stages, show up and teach at retreats, do workshops to show your value in what you educate in, and then clients are coming from that?
1,000%. Like even to this day, with 30 employees and having my own retreats and my own events and my own mastermind group, I'm still attending retreats like
Mhm.
every single quarter. I think I'm attending
Yeah.
a different retreat from a different person with different themes, like different industries, different locations. I just think they're like, one, they're really fun to attend. Two, it makes entrepreneurship feel less lonely.
Yeah.
And of course, you'll learn something from it. But honestly, I never book a retreat for like the content part of it,
I
like
know.
the speaking.
Mm-hmm.
I could care less at this point, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
But it's more of just like the people that are going to go.
Yeah, that was something that took me a while to learn. I would be so heavy on like the content of the retreat, but every time I would always ask everyone before they came to any of my retreats, like, what's the number one thing you want to get? And everyone just wants that connection.
Everyone
They
says
want to be in
connection.
the room with the people that are educating, but they also want to meet new people too. So I feel like that just took me a while to learn. Um, well, I love that. And so then tell me like, as far as your retreats now that you're doing them, what do those look like?
Each one has been different so far, like way different and in different locations. Um, but my next retreat, which is in New York City,
Mm-hmm.
I really wanted it to be all about marketing because, like you're saying, a lot of people will come up to me and be like, how did you grow your brand so fast?
Yeah.
Especially as a tax person, which is like the most boring industry in the world. Um, and I'm like, I don't really know, but I guess if I think about it, I can put together, exactly what I did and
Yeah.
give everyone the roadmap. And so I was just like, I'll just host a retreat, and like, where else better than New York City for like a branding and
Yeah.
marketing retreat? And so another kind of hack too for anyone listening is like, if you're attending a retreat, just create a retreat on the front end or back end of that one. So for example, this New York retreat, I'm attending my speaking coach's retreat. And
Mm-hmm.
I was just like, hey, do you mind? I'm going to host a retreat right behind you. If you love your venue, have you been there before? Do you know the person running it? Is it a good spot, or is it a new one and you've never done it before?
Yeah.
How about the hotel? Who's your caterer? What photographer are you using? Like they've
So smart.
already built it.
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, go for it.
So
And
smart.
so I just tacked it on really to his.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just really excited. Everyone's already in the group chat. I made the group chat last night, and everyone's already like, I'm coming in early. Let's go to a Yankees game or like Broadway or whatever.
Yeah. That is the best part is you meet these people from all across the United States that you've been connected to online, and all of a sudden you're in a room together. And
Mhm.
I always think it's so crazy. I've met some of my favorite people that
Yeah,
way.
we met.
We met that way. Well, what's kind of crazy is, and I think this is probably 4 years ago because we're in 2025, where One of, a real estate agent who's been a guest on the podcast, Stephanie Mainville, I actually ran into her 2 days ago, connected us and was like, you need to meet Barb. And I had you come teach for a room full of real estate agents. And ever since then, I feel like you are definitely one of the like most popular speakers I have to date because people cannot get enough of what you say about tax strategy.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I mean, everyone wants to save money, so I feel like my business proposition's kind of easy, but
Well, and I think you come at it with just an approach a lot of people haven't heard before. I'll never forget, you actually had Crystal come speak, which is your CEO, right?
COO.
COO. She came and spoke at one of my events and she was talking about writing off guns. And I cannot tell you, so many people were like raising their hand, asking her questions. And I'm like, this is so funny that this turned into like, we're talking about guns at this women's event. Why don't you tell us like, what is some of the best like, or most like, exciting topics that people like to talk about when it comes to writing off fun stuff like that?
Definitely their kids.
Yeah.
Kids is a big one.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone wants to know how to pay their kids through their business, and you can pay them this year $15,000 tax-free. And actually, there's a really cool tax bill that we think is going to pass soon. It just went through the House a couple days ago, and they're adding on this MAHA account for children. And you can put another $5,000 tax-free into it. So like paying your kids is going to be even better coming soon, hopefully.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. And what else do they love to talk about? Writing off things for photo shoots. I
Yeah.
think people forget that you can write off like your hair, your makeup, sometimes your clothing, not all the time. If you're going to wear it personally, you cannot write off your clothes. But if it's solely for business,
Yeah.
then you can. Or things like rent the runway, or
Oh, yeah.
I don't know any other ones, but if you're doing like, what is it?
Newly is a popular one.
Okay. Yeah. So if it's like you're renting those things just for your business and like business events, then you can write those off. So definitely photo shoot expenses, anything luxury. Everyone always wants to know because I'm bougie Barb, like what bougie things that they can write off. And of course, lots of travel and retreats and stuff.
Yeah. Well, and I think probably there's some people listening right now that want to invest in their business and go to these retreats and, travel around. Can you maybe give them some advice if they're like hesitant to do so because of a money thing?
Yeah, for sure. Like I will say just like not even anything to do with taxes. Every time I've invested into a retreat, the money's come back tenfold.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's a direct client from that retreat or it's a collaboration now that we have, or like Kristen and I now collaborate on events and retreats and
Mm-hmm.
so many other things. The person doesn't have to be in your industry, or they can even seem like a competitor. Like in my mastermind group, we have 7 real estate agents, but they're all collaborating for like webinars together to pool
Mm-hmm.
their audiences. And so don't just look at it from like a monetary like ROI, but just like a lifestyle ROI, like
Yes.
meeting new friends and all the things. But the cost of business retreats are a business deduction.
Mm-hmm.
So you can write them off in your business as well as your travel,
Mm-hmm.
like airfare, hotels, Airbnbs, rental cars, Uber, the meals, and the alcohol. So if that helps a little bit with the cost, it can definitely be a write-off.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that that is something that a lot of people don't even think about. So you definitely, if you guys don't go to retreats right now, you absolutely should. We actually are going to be retreating together. And this is going to be totally different than any retreat that I've ever done. I know you've ever done. But one of our mutual friends wanted to host a camp retreat. So it's literally summer camp vibes. And we're going to be like, we have cots, we have beds, we have campfire stories, we have a chef who's doing camp style food, but yet elevated. So I'm actually
Ooh.
really excited for that part.
Nice.
Just so much fun. So it's going to be, you get to come hang out with me, Barb, and another amazing girl, Jamie, and some other great people. One other thing I wanted to touch on is like, if you guys, so you guys have been listening to Barb, how she went from being an accountant to a tax strategist to courses to retreats. And I think a lot of real estate agents can really look at what she's done and think how your business could actually do this. So you might be like, okay, where's my next buyer and seller? But if you really look at your business like Barb, you can think like, okay, is there a course that I could be creating? Is there something where I can go and teach at retreats? A lot of people need education on real estate. So like, have you ever talked to an agent and like really help them look at their business the way that you've expanded yours?
Yeah. So in my mastermind group, we have a ton of agents, like I was saying, in the group. And my biggest suggestion, honestly, is to start a newsletter if you don't already have one. So you need to be reminding your clients about you so that they
Yeah.
just don't go to their next friend, because everyone has a friend that's a real estate agent, or like they just see some open house sign or whatever and they move on to someone else. So staying top of mind, but then get your social media following onto your newsletter list. So
Yeah.
create something valuable that they're going to want to download for free.
Mhm.
So maybe it's like a first time home buyer guide, or it's how to sell your house guide, or ready to turn your primary into a rental guide. Something
Mhm.
that your audience, your industry, your location will want. And once they download it, they'll get on your newsletter list.
Mhm.
Because I think people prematurely create courses. And I think you really need to build your newsletter list before you offer a paid course.
Mhm. That's
So
great
give
advice.
them so much value for free
Yeah.
first, build the list,
Mhm.
and then offer the courses later.
Yeah, I definitely see that a lot where somebody builds a valuable course, but then they don't have the audience. So they're trying to sell it and they're like, "Oh my gosh, nobody's buying it." And you don't
Yeah.
want that. That's great advice.
And like they might not know you for that yet. You know, you've
Mhm.
never sold a course before. So they're not just going to jump the gun and buy a course from you. Like give them so much good free stuff that they're
Mhm.
like, I have to buy this thing because I have to know what's in there. If
Yeah.
this stuff is so good for free, how much better is it going to be behind the paid wall?
Yeah. What about some of the retreats, conferences, any of that kind of stuff that you've done? Have you ever done it with a real estate agent to where they taught something that you're like, that is really valuable to show up as a real estate agent and teach that topic?
I think the aging population is a really good topic to
Okay.
talk about because we all have parents
Yeah.
that are getting older. We all have grandparents that are obviously older. And just to know for ourselves too, and like how to set it up for kids, I think that's a really great topic that not a lot of people talk about. Like everyone talks about first time home buyers
Yeah.
and that kind of thing, but like what to do as you're getting older and like
Mhm.
even work with a tax strategist that can give you some cool like tax hacks for as people are aging.
Yeah. Ooh, I really like that. That would be that's really good advice.
Like a good one, just to like throw an idea out there that I told one of my agent clients. My neighbor Trudy, I talk about her a lot. She got a tattoo at my surprise wedding. She was 80 years old. But she came to me and she's like, I need to move into a home. I can no longer like stay at home by myself. And I'm trying to figure out, should I sell my house or do I rent it out?
Mhm.
And so we did the math. If she sold her house, she would be paying like $500,000 in capital gains tax. Or if she rents it out, well, she could rent her house out for $12,000. It's in a luxury area. And her house that she's moving into was $10,000 a month.
Mhm.
So the rent on her house is now going to pay for her like dream, you know, what are those places called?
Uh, long-term care facilities.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
a senior
Mhm.
care facility. And now she doesn't have to pay the taxes on it. And then her kids are going to inherit the house
Well, that's great.
and they can inherit it for like $5 million and pay nothing in taxes.
Yeah.
So just knowing what to do as people get older is
Yeah.
important.
And also like you could collaborate with people like Barb so that when you're educating, just having like all the different elements to educate the people that are coming in. So I love that. So how can people get a hold of you?
Instagram, I hang out there the most at your tax coach or on Barbara Shreehan's Instagram as well. That's more of like the events and more fun and retreats and things like that.
Yeah. Is your New York retreat sold out?
It's sold out. It's actually oversold. Um, so there's a wait list. If you go on our page, you can get on the list for next year.
Yeah. Don't worry. She will have other retreats. So you can definitely tap into everything. Well, great. I had so much fun with you in here today.
Thank you.
Thanks, friend, for listening to the podcast. We love having you in our community. If you enjoyed our podcast, please leave us a review or share it with a friend. Also, we'd love to connect with you on Instagram. Go follow us at Moms in Real Estate.